So I am excited to see. I think Yuki is that man to look out for this weekend. Yuki's got that momentum from Racing Bulls, where he's really been outperforming outperforming by certain margins, not very thin, not very thick margins. But I'm going for Yuki Tsunoda on the podium. Doesn't matter who else is on the podium. Trust me, if he's on the podium, all of Suzuka, all of Japan will celebrate that podium, and we will probably that'll be a pub quiz question 20 years down the line. In 2025 Japanese Grand Prix, who else shared the podium with Yuki Tsunoda? And at least I'm going to fail that if we actually happens.
And this is why this is such an important weekend, not just for Red Bull, not just for Yuki, but also Japanese motorsport. Because think of the legacy that Yuki Tsunoda is now carrying by being in that second Red Bull seat. There's so many contributions that the likes of Satoru Nakajima, Takuma Sato, Kamui Kobayashi, Kazuki Nakajima as well in the middle, have put forward to put Japan at the top of the motorsport ladder. And they've all been able to reach a certain level. Japanese drivers at one point we thought were just capped off in the midfield. They would never get that big break with the top team. But then in the last 5 years, we've seen Takuma Sato go out and win the Indy 500 multiple times. He's now raising the Japanese flag very, very high in America. But then in Formula One, we were still waiting because we never got that chance with Kamui Kobayashi. And we thought he was going to be the one. And we thought that Yuki was going to be the one. And then he had to wait. And then he had to wait even further. And at last, that moment is here where a Japanese driver is in a legitimate race winning seat for the first time in decades. Now you could count Satoru Nakajima at Lotus because Senna made that car work, but that still doesn't count. It's a different story. He was not a part of a championship winning team that had won in the last few years. But with Yuki, it's different. And look at this time for Japanese motorsport. They're winning in the World Endurance Championship with Toyota. They're winning in the World Rally Championship there as well. They've increased their investment in Formula One to have a presence with the Haas Formula One team. Honda wants to get back. They're backing Yuki to the hill. We have a Japanese Grand Prix and another Japanese driver in FP1. And this is phenomenal. We were all saying that Japan is a dying country in the world of motorsport because they haven't won a lot and they're not thriving in MotoGP and they're not doing very well otherwise. I guess they are back. I guess they are back and we have a flag bearer at the very top, which is why this is such a crucial weekend, firstly for Japan, but then secondly also I'd say, Kunal, for Red Bull Racing too, because if it doesn't work with Yuki, I think it sheds more light on Red Bull's lack of Red Bull's inability to get a second driver and that car to work for two people than it does to Yuki's talent. Because now they're going to have, I mean, a list of so many drivers who haven't worked if it doesn't work with Yuki. So I think it's pressure on Red Bull more than it's pressure on Yuki because he's been waiting for this for years now.
He's been waiting for this for years. He becomes the 14th driver in Red Bull Racing history to actually get a promotion or to race for Red Bull Racing. But he's also the driver who's had to wait the longest, 4+ seasons, 89 Grand Prix. And I am yet to meet a fan who believes that Yuki shouldn't be in that seat. Okay, that's the kind of momentum, that's the kind of positivity he's coming in. And what I love about Yuki, Checo Perez, who actually should have been in the car contractually, has actually come out in support of Yuki Tsunoda and said, you know what, he's got the right attitude. And I'll tell you what I love about that attitude. Everyone knows. I mean, Parikshit again picked saying if there's one person who needs to bounce back, it's actually not a driver, but it's the second seat at Red Bull Racing that needs to bounce back, right? Everyone knows how tough that car is, right?
Yeah.
And Yuki Tsunoda has come out and said, I actually drove the RB21 in the simulator and I didn't find as many problems with it. Point number one, it matters how you psych yourself up in this pressure situation. There was a Tokyo run that they did a show run in Tokyo, and Yuki said everyone's trying to not talk to me about performing because they think I'll get under pressure, but please talk to me, put me under pressure, I'm going to give my best, we'll see what happens. And I love that whole positivity that Yuki Tsunoda is bringing to this much awaited, much deserved promotion. And I love what you said, Saumil, that the pressure is not so much so on Yuki. Yes, it is, but the pressure is more on Red Bull Racing to make sure Yuki shines. Helmut Marko said he's got till the end of the season, which I think is good because that gives him a longer run And what better place to make your debut in a car which is so iconic with the livery, at least, right? You said Red Bull's a race winning car. I sort of disagree with that, but we'll see what happens this race weekend. And Yuki Tsunoda has gone really well at Suzuka. He's never been out qualified here at a teammate, at least in the last 3 years, which means that the Japanese fans do give him that extra tenth, a couple of tenths, which is what he'll probably need. And then I would also say this is one of those circuits where it's a driver's circuit, right? So I know that Perez ran Max Verstappen very close last year. Alex Albon has run very close with Max Verstappen as well. I would love to see how well Yuki goes, and maybe at some point we should discuss what does success look like for Yuki Tsunoda.
It's a very important race weekend for Japanese motorsport, like you said, Somal, because 2025 marks the 50th year since the Japanese driver first entered a Formula One championship round. 1975, we had, who was it? It was Hiroshi Fushida who entered the 1975 Dutch and British Grand Prix. And it wasn't until 1987, like you said, Nakajima scoring points for the very first time. So a very historic race weekend or historic season for Japanese motorsport in that regard. And it doesn't get better than having someone like Yuki in a Honda powered car at a Honda track in Japan. And you could say that it's going to be a difficult race weekend. He's had barely any time to get used to the car. He didn't have preseason testing and all of that. But like Kunal says, he's driving in front of his home crowd, and it always is a case when you're driving in front of your home crowd, you get an extra tenth or two. And I'm sure he's driven around the circuit several times before. And I really think everyone around him is going to be really supporting him so that he delivers. Like we've already discussed, it's going to be a very bad look on Red Bull if he also starts to struggle. So everyone at Honda, everyone at Red Bull are really going to be rallying around Yuki to ensure that he has a good race weekend and he has a good rest of the season. And also for him, from a personal point of view, if he had continued the season at Racing Bulls, no one knew where Yuki was going to be in 2026.
Yeah.
So I know a producer is going to hate this word, but I have to bring in redemption once again. We've seen that with Norris in Australia. We've seen that with Piastri in China. This is probably the time for Yuki to redeem himself and say, you know what? I might not have had a seat for 2026. Now you might have to take a closer look at me.
And you know why I feel Yuki Tsunoda will do very well? It's that attitude that Kunal spoke about, that kick in his spring, like that spring in his step, let's put it that way, that he's happy about this, that he wants to take on the challenge, and that he's ready for all of this. Think about it. He is the driver. I mean, he is the only driver who's had to wait 5 years for a Red Bull seat. 5 years. Imagine how ready he feels, because there's so many others who've been preferred over him at different points in time. And at all points, he would have been saying, I know I can do a better job. I know I can do a better job. I know I can do a better job. And every time he said that to the media and has gone on and done a better job. So imagine what that does to his confidence. And all the other drivers who have walked into Red Bull racing in the last few years have walked in very acrimonious circumstances. Like Alex Albon. He was brought into Formula One hastily and then put into that Red Bull racing seat within half a season. So that welcome into the team was never truly a settled one. He didn't really have a preseason. With Checo Perez, it was all about survival. This was his last hope in Formula One, so he had to make it work. So imagine the relief that way. With Liam Lawson, he was stepping back from not having competed properly in Formula One for over a season. And then you get put into the toughest car. But Yuki's been there driving for the last 5 years. He's been consistently performing every single week, including the last couple of weeks. And this is just building up to the Red Bull seat rather than having the Red Bull seat somewhere as a part of his journey that shapes him up as a driver. So I think now the time is right. And yes, it might be inadvertent. This is not what they wanted to do. But I feel now is the perfect time to have someone like Yuki in the seat. He's feeling primed up. He's feeling ready. Let's just go for it. But as Formula One fans, I'd still like to remind you, don't expect too much too soon. It's a very hard car. It's very tricky to get it properly to drive around in circles and to get lap time out from it. And also to be in that very close midfield, because according to Helmut Marko, they're expecting Yuki Tsunoda to do better so that he can help out with Max Verstappen's strategies, so that Red Bull can have two cars in the top 10, which means they need more people in the midfield area, where we have seen, Kunal, the struggles get even bigger for everyone, because it's a tenth and a half. It's literally a tenth and a half or 2 tenths between P5 and I don't know, P12, P20, 20 sometimes in qualifying too. So for Yuki to slot in somewhere, it's possible. But then even half a tenth here or there could leave him in a very disappointing position, which we might look at the results and say, oh my God, that's terrible. Yuki in 14th or 17th. But if he's only 1/10 away from P12 or P11, sure, we're going to take that. And that's what I think we should be wary of this weekend.
Yeah, that's what success would look like. Can he be within a couple of tenths of Max Verstappen? Can he firstly actually get that second Red Bull car out of Q1, right? Because that car has been stuck in Q1 thanks to Liam Lawson not being able to, perform in the two qualifyings and the sprint qualifying as well. So just to get closer to Max Verstappen itself would be success. And can he remain calm? Because one of the biggest questions that, Helmut Marko said is, is Yuki comfortable enough mentally, emotionally in that car when that pressure comes? Can he sort of deliver when it comes to that? And guys, also remember, this is not just because the three of us think that his attitude is in the right place, he should get a promotion, that there is nobody else he should get a promotion. The stats also speak in his favor. So he has outqualified and actually sat to do these numbers. He's outqualified all his teammates at Racing Bulls 18 to 6 last year, which is Daniel Ricciardo and Liam Lawson, right? He's outscored his teammates 30 to 16 if you go back and see all his teammates. And in 2023, he also outqualified his teammates 16 to 6 and then outscored them 17 to 8. So if there was any driver who actually was ready enough for this promotion, even statistically, even from a performance point of view, like, you pointed out, Somil, because if Liam Lawson was actually ready to go racing full time this year, never in his dreams would he have thought he's getting Red Bull immediately. He would have first thought, they'll give me Racing Bulls, I'll do well, and then I'll get there. Like you pointed out with Lawson as well, Albon as well. So full marks, Yuki-san, go for it. Excited to see what you're able to bring. And I really, like I said, my bold prediction is him on the podium.
Yeah, he's cooked. He's nice, and it's like the meat is nice and soft now. It's perfect, juicy, right time. You can't bring him in any earlier than this. You can't bring him any later than this. Now is the perfect time. He is ready to cook, like all of us.
Yeah, Somil's gone.
We've had the first
yeah.
DNF of the podcast.
Somil is still off. We hear you, but we whatever. Yeah. So for our audio listeners, Somil, of course, out of all his excitement of Yuki-san getting onto the podium, he's whacked his mic off. Just when I was actually going to ask, in case Yuki doesn't perform in the car, is it Jos Verstappen they'll put there? Is it Christian Horner, who had a run at Goodwood last year? Because then they're going to have to wait for Isaac Hadjar, right? And what does this mean for Liam Lawson? Lots of questions just as we end this Yuki Tsunoda segment. Lots of pressure on Red Bull to get, of course, their car to go quicker, because if they get the car to go quicker, they will retain Max Verstappen. But if they don't get their second car to perform, bigger headaches for them.